Hey, it's me, your good buddy Matt D. Once again here in the old game garage, talking to you this week in our cavalcade of games in alphabetical order. Last week was Asphalt 3D, which I liked a lot more than apparently anybody else. This week is Assassin's Creed Altair's Chronicles, which came out in 2008. This is the prequel, off-brand prequel of the first game. So I've never played any of the Assassin's Creed games. This is the first one I played. There's a period of time where I was really into getting all the AAA games on other systems that somehow made their way onto the DS, which were sometimes like totally different experiences, right? So like Call of Duty has a bunch of games, Assassin's Creed, what we're looking at right here, Tomb Raider, which again, I've never played until I played it on the DS. Those treats are going all over 7. I apologize. Yeah, so I really dig the fact that when people come out with like special stories just for the DS, it's not like they try to take Assassin's Creed and smash it into a tiny system. They're just like, hey man, let's kind of make a whole new experience and a whole new game out of this property. It's kind of like throwing the DS a bone. Again, I've said this before, I think in other videos, where if you're a super fan of the story of Assassin's Creed, you might feel obligated to be like, hey man, what's this all about? Oh, funnily enough, this is from French game developer Gameloft, who also gave us this. This is kind of like a Gameloft duality. Duality? Also, and I don't know, man, again, if it's just Gameloft or just developers or just during this time period, this was also a phone game, and you could play this on your phone, which I do kind of believe. Anyway, so this is less open world, sneak around. This is pretty much like you're on like a play field, sort of like a Lego DS game where you can only go so deep. But within that deepness is like a very linear path. And on that linear path, you're basically playing Prince of Persia. Hold on, 7. 1 second. You're basically playing Prince of Persia. There's a lot of running and jumping and lots of sword fighting, which is, in my opinion, the weakest part of the game. Yeah, structures collapse. There's spike traps. Lots of instant deaths. Like a lot of deaths where you're just dying over and over and over again, just trying to figure out, oh, I'm supposed to jump to that thing instead of that thing to get to this thing. Or, oh, this fire trap is always getting me, and you just kind of got to like work your way around those kind of puzzles. That said, like, once you get cooking, like once you figure some of that stuff out, like it's real fun to kind of like blast through stuff real fast, because you can kind of like, you know, connect moves together, and then it becomes really satisfying. Like you've just pulled off like a move sequence. On top of like the Prince of Persia stuff, because it is the Nintendo DS, they give you 2 mini games. One mini game where you are picking pockets. You always need to find a key, and sometimes people give them to you. Sometimes you kill people for them, but a lot of times you're picking pockets. On top of that, there's also a torture mini game where you pin you've got an arm behind someone's back, and you're like, pressure point, pressure point, pressure point, pressure point, twist the arm, which in retrospect is a little weird. In retrospect, Assassin's Creed is a little weird. The amount of times you just indiscriminately murder people, and I know that's in a lot of games, but in this one, it's especially funny because like sometimes guys will give you information, and you're just like, fuck it, stab, stab them up the butt. Anyway, I'm gonna read the back as we do. Prequel to the console version. I told you that. Developed specifically for Nintendo DS, Assassin's Creed Altair's Chronicles tells the story of Altair before the events of the console version. I have no idea if I'm saying Altair right. This is a real side note before I read the rest. I have kind of a face blindness when it comes to fantasy names. Like, I simply can't read them. Like, if I am reading Lord of the Rings, it's like, again, Frodo, Bilbo, it really helps that their names are the same. And Samwise helps the fact that it's basically an American name. Everybody else, I don't know. I can maybe get the first couple letters. Legolas. Yeah, I just remember Lego. All the stuff at the end. If anybody else in that family has a name that's similar to that, dude, I'm going to get them confused. I can't read them out loud. Anyway, pull off amazing acrobatic moves and explore fully 3D rendered medieval worlds. I have to admit, these rendered worlds do look amazing. That you cannot see that at all. But trust me, the graphics a little muddy, but surprisingly beautiful and robust. In a second, my good girl. Master sword fights, stealth assassinations, combo attacks, and a variety of weapons. That is sort of true. I did get better with the fighting the longer I played, and I started using some of the combos, but I'm telling you, the block mechanic in this, not so much. Some of the other stuff is kind of fun. Use your stylus to integrate... No! Do not bark at me. No. Sit down. You sit. Behave. Wow, I'd be dad there for a second. Are you sitting? There you go. Gosh, hold on. Use your stylus to interrogate informers and pickpocket precious items from the crowd. I don't know. I haven't picked... At one point, you can blow on the microphone and you can blow the sand away and you can open a treasure chest. I literally have no idea what that does. None at all. So the plot of this game is this takes place, like I said, before the first Assassin's Creed. You go back to your hometown. I've never... And 7, what are you... Gotta wrap this one up. Man, we are stitching this one together. So apparently you've got to find this fucking magic chalice, and to get this magic chalice, which is solve the romance of the 3 kingdoms, and everyone comes together. Woo! And apparently it will end the Crusades. I know what you're thinking. How is a magic chalice going to end the Crusades? Is this like God's chalice? Is this the thing from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusades? Possibly. Your bad guys are your Templars, which are these white guys. I think everybody else in the game is Middle Eastern, but I'm gonna take a stab. French developers, I don't know, maybe they needed to get some more nationalities on there to like work on some better character designs, but everyone looks like a white dude with a tan, except for the Templars, which look like old craggy dudes that have been in the sun too long, but still really pale. You'll know what I'm saying when you play it. Diversity. That's what I'm saying. Diversity. Let's get that into our games. All this is to say is that I'm pretty sure it's all pointless. You don't actually solve the Crusades. It's just more of your story as Altair, which is fine. I mean, look at that guy. He looks like he can have some good adventures. I'm ready to have some adventures. You do get to use this, sort of, but that's mainly just to, like, stab dudes as you sneak up behind them. There's a little bit of sneaking, a little bit of assassination, which is kind of cool. But, yeah, it's really just all about the Prince of Persia-ness of the game, which is great. I mean, if you were looking for a Prince of Persia allegory, analogous game, if you're like, man, I need some more Prince of Persia on my lips, then I highly recommend this game. This is the most Prince of Persia thing I've played in quite a while. Game reviews were pretty positive, but one thing I thought was amazing was their complaint being it's a little short. Dude, I guess this video would have came out longer, but I was still just chugging away at this game because it was pretty fun. Reviewers were like, hey, I don't know. One reviewer is like, dude, this game was like 3 hours long. Dude, are you kidding me? C'est impossible. C'est impossible. It is impossible. You cannot play this game in under 3 hours. I refuse to believe that. And if you are, man, get outside, man. Enjoy some sun. Maybe take it off easy mode. Maybe turn the hints off. I mean, because if you turn hints off, this game is wild hard and super fun. In the video here, I think I've got hint mode on just so because it's hard to play. My setup is not great for video game stuff. But yeah, even then, I probably played 6 hours into it and got a quarter of a way to a hat. No, probably a quarter of a way through. I think I'm on like level 5 and there's like 13 levels, which are actually like shocking. Trust me, the save feature in this is maybe the biggest complaint because you can go back and like revisit levels. But if you go back and revisit a level, you cannot save at where you were before. It's weird how they do it. So I've replayed like a couple levels that I was like, oh wait, I've already done that. Anyway, the levels are shockingly long is all I'm going to say. Yeah, and yeah, that's about it. It's a pretty decent game, and I think you should check it out. My dog is going crazy, and someone's going to get in trouble because they weren't very good when I'm trying to shoot a video. Yes, I'm talking to you. You. Thank you very much. Thanks for watching the video and supporting videos and garages and homespun. Thanks for not supporting a billionaire. There you go. That's what I want to say. Billionaires. Boo. But also like, subscribe, square, and touch all the buttons down here. All the things you touch down here help up here kind of a lot. Up here, the mind. My mind. My peace of mind. Helps that a lot. Anyway, tell me what you're playing and all that kind of stuff. Have you played an Assassin's Creed game? Do you know much about the Assassin's Creeds? Do you listen to Creed? Have you played this game? Do you like Prince of Persia? Have you seen that YouTube video about the making of Prince of Persia? Because it's pretty great. Until next time, I love you.
What?
Oh, dude. After hours. Real briefly, as I was playing this game, one of the things that kind of came up was like, there's not as much story as the original Assassin's Creed. And kind of with like Last of Us blowing up and people like, video games and stories. Which gets to my point. Are video game stories ever good? When people refer to a story in a game, is that any good? Like this, all the cutscenes in this are kind of like yakety yak, and a lot of times you're just going here to get this, to do that. Like, oh, but now I've got to talk to this shopkeeper, and he's going to tell me to go there. When I could have literally just been like, you got to get the chalice, and then you got to get these 3 keys, and just go through a temple? But instead I have to go to multiple locations and multiple countries, and it could have just been one giant place, like a Castlevania, which, when it comes right down to it, is a terrible story. And we're talking about my favorite game series of all time, and it's pretty dumb when you think about it. I mean, conceptually, let's kill Dracula in a giant magic castle with all the monsters. It's a great idea. But any words you put on top of that is D-U-M-B. I mean, it just doesn't even make sense because it doesn't make sense. It's like how some things just work in video games and just don't work just don't work in real life. I've never played a video game and gotten really that emotional. I mean, yes, because I've invested time into a thing, but that's different than actually thinking a thing is good and a piece of quality. If I'm going to think of like good writing, I'm thinking about things like Black Goliath #5. And issue #5, Black Goliath ends up in outer space. Long story. Again, this is good. It wouldn't work in a movie, but works perfectly in a comic book. Does this make sense? So he ends up in another planet with his like girlfriend and her nephew. And at some point they have to deal with like this alien power, and there's this really weird looking alien, and he like tries to contact Black Goliath like via through the nephew, and Black Goliath like freaks out, and they kind of get in a fight because all heroes have to get in a fight immediately in a comic. And like Black Goliath's like, hey man, like why didn't you just like come up to us, or like why were you being so weird about it? And the alien monster dude's like, hey man, I get how I look, like I just thought you might like judge me different. And like Black Goliath's like, yeah man, I know something about that. And like they have this like big adventure, and they have to fight this like big dude, like some like battle warlord dude. It's like a big normal guy with like bald hair. I think he's like kind of a fluorescent green. It's been a minute since I've read it, and I can't remember all the machinations behind it, but the weird alien monster dude has to sacrifice himself to save like Black Goliath and his family. At the end of it, you realize that the whole story is kind of being told through like the perspective of the nephew. And the nephew has like, it just ends with him just like leaving a note to like whoever happens to read it, which happens to be us. He like sends an SOS to the universe, but it's like caught by us. I don't know. There's a heaviness there. Again, a thing that a conceit that would not work in a movie, but somehow works perfectly in a comic book. My hands are so cold, and I'm holding a heater right now so I can do this. Reels writes this note that says like, hey man, I don't know who's out there, but this weird monster was I'm gonna get a little verklempt. But this basically, this weird monster was a friend of mine, and he died being a hero. Oh God, it's eyes red and sad and teary. There's something in your eye. But the point being is that it's really well written. Obviously, I'm affected. Like, right? I'm all messed up right now. And every time, and I knew that. Going into this video, I'm just like, dude, can't talk about Black Goliath #5. It's going to fuck me up. Black Goliath fucks me up. I think it's the saddest comic. It's hella sad. I think Black Goliath #5 is one of the saddest comics ever written. That said, I think it's a conceit that only really works in comic books. And if I saw it in a movie, I'd probably think it's dumb AF. But in a comic book, it works perfectly. Which comes back to video games. I think video games are fun and great to play. And I think the stories add like a layer of robustness and a ripple. But I don't actually think they're good. And when people talk about stories in video games being really, really good, I think they're just long and convoluted with a lot of ceaseless and pointless lore that I absolutely do not care about. Looking at you, Final Fantasy. And all JRPGs, which I love, but I think they're dumb. Stay red. Some dog is gonna be in trouble.